Hey guys, welcome to the new episode of the Andy Social Podcast. And once you're done here, make sure to head over to Goat King Writers Club,
where we never let grammar get in the way of a good story.
Good yarn.
Yarn? Story? Fuck, doesn't matter, does it?
Well, it does when we're doing the promo for it.
Oh well, that's what they're getting.
Also, come and check us out on YouTube for full video versions. Enjoy this show.
G'day, Andy Socialites. It's Jeremy Big Jez Turner here. I'm just coming in with a quick plug for me mate Andy because he's running a fucking sweet deal over at his Patreon account at the moment. So I've been a member of it for a few months now. It's always been a pretty entertaining little listen on a Tuesday morning, I think it is. He does a heap of shitty karaoke. He'll tell us a whole bunch of things about random shit that he's researched in the last week. He'll tell you a little bit about what's going on in the world of the man himself, Andy Dowling. My personal favourite part is his mission to offset his impending alcoholism with getting his steps up on his iPhone. It's just all-round good fucking fun. In any case, you can join for as little as $1 a month. Of course, that $1 a month is a slap in the face tier, so if you're feeling even halfway flush, you should probably go for the $5 jobby, and in return you get a whole heap of sweet extra content, and he gets to keep doing his thing, and then maybe at some point in the next fucking decade, we'll get another Lord album. And in any case, like $5 is pretty much nothing. If you live in Sydney, or even worse, if you live in fucking Melbourne, $5 is somewhere between a third and half of a schooner in most pubs. So it's a pretty sweet deal, and it goes a long way to help Andy keep pumping out the good shit we all like. Anyway, thanks for listening. Enjoy the podcast. All right.
Hey, welcome to my podcast. My name's Andy Dowling. My little podcast is called the Andy Social Podcast. How you doing? Hope you enjoy your stay. Hello. This episode is episode 240-something. I've got no idea because I've recorded all these episodes way out of whack. It is what it is. But this week's guest is Jacques Barrett. Jacques is an Australian comedian. If you're into Australian comedy, more than likely you will know already who he is. If you don't, you will soon after this chat. Go and check out Jacques' latest comedy album called Champione on the streaming services, Spotify, iTunes, etc. Go and support him. Hope you enjoy it. I really enjoyed that album. He's on the socials as well, Instagram and Facebook. Search for JB Champione and jbcomedy.net, of course. And I'll have everything that we discuss in the show notes over at andysocial.net, andydowling.net, and whatever freaking podcast thingo you're listening to this through right now. Just click on the description, click on the link, smash your fingers against the screen. You'll be able to find it. And go and check out Jacques' World. Enough crapping on from me. Please enjoy this great chat with Jacques Barrett. I'm a bit confused about where your primary location is. Obviously, you're kind of stuck in Queensland. I know you were born up there, or you at least grew up there. But I've seen Melbourne. I got confused at one point. I thought you were a Perth comedian. So, is it primarily a Queensland comedian? If you're going to classify yourself as a...
No. Fuck, I don't know. Dude, you've already 2 seconds in, you've painted me into a fucking corner here. So like, I don't want to disrespect Queensland, which has always been really nice to me. But I started comedy. If we're going to do state of origin, yeah. I'd had my first representative game was in club comedy in Sydney. So technically I'm a Sydney comic, but I'm a fuck Queenslander, mate. Fuck Queensland. But I'm also a Sydney comic.
Whatever works at the time, just lean into whatever's convenient.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're up in Queensland doing shows, then you're a local boy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I talk about all my local references are on point.
Oh, there you go. Perfect. Well, I grew up in Queensland and moved down here probably about 15 years ago. And it was one of those things where just that origin reference, when I was growing up in Queensland, I always went for New South Wales just out of pure spite because I just hated everyone around me. And then we moved down here and, I just thought, it's only natural that I start going for Queensland now.
Yeah.
So it's just one of those difficult, I'm still difficult, just acting out of spite all the time.
Yeah, I respect that. It's like, yeah, the kid who's not embraced by the village will burn the village down.
That's right.
But then all of a sudden, like Melbourne Storm, the entire Melbourne Storm team is Queensland.
Yeah.
Is the run on side for Origin. So it's like, fuck, man. Look, okay. And also, New South Wales is fucking mud. That's what you're in Melbourne, right?
No, I'm in Sydney. So, but on.
Oh fuck. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we'll edit that part out.
Hey, as I said, we're going to hold each other up through this one. So
Yeah.
I was doing a little bit of stalking and writing down some notes and clicking through on links on the internet as you do, and a bit of a weird place to start, but maybe there's a story behind it. I clicked on your Twitter little icon on your website, and it went to your Twitter handle, and then it said account suspended. And I thought, I hope there's something good behind this.
Oh no, there's not a there's not a cool story. Like, I didn't get cancelled. I didn't start running my mouth, but I suspended my account. One, because Twitter is a bin fire, and also two, I've got a story about it on stage, but I got stoned a couple of years ago when a bunch of comedians were getting called out for shit they wrote on Twitter 8-9 years ago.
Right. Okay.
And I was like, fuck. I was high and I got paranoid. And I thought I'd better go back and have a look at the back catalogue and make sure I haven't fucking dropped the ball here. I went back and I found nothing controversial at all, but I also found nothing funny ever. I hadn't been funny on Twitter ever. And I because I was stoned, I had this implosion where I was like, am I mentally handicapped and no one's had the heart to tell me?
Oh.
I don't know if you've ever been that high, but oh man, what a fucking rabbit hole that is. An internal downward spiral. And then like I was a mess. An utter mess. I was so like, am I a comedian? Am I funny? Is this all just like he's high functioning, just let him go kind of. And then I found one tweet. I think I've got it written. I might be able to remember it. I found one tweet that saved me because I was like, it was one tweet that was really, I thought, fucking funny. And it brought me back to life and made me kind of, reminded me. And it was, this was the tweet. It was, imagine thinking there's nothing worth living for, jumping off a cliff, and then halfway down realizing you love skydiving. And I was like, oh, fuck, okay, that's pretty good. That's not great. It's pretty good. But then I decided to just take that one tweet. I saved it in my notes section, and then I deleted my Twitter account.
It still wasn't strong enough for you just to hold off and...
No, one tweet in a sea of utter shit. Yeah, not worth it.
Not good enough. Oh, man. It's quite funny, you having that sort of, that moment being stoned and sort of thinking, am I sort of living in denial where I'm the one that's handicapped and everybody else is sort of just giving you a pass and just letting you sort of exist.
Yeah.
I have that, and I haven't been stoned since I was in high school. I have that often. I have these little, like I find myself just doing these little things that I feel would be autistic, like these little tendencies. Just I love numbers. I have like a stupid little Excel spreadsheet about dumb stuff that's absolutely trivial. And then I sit there and go, all right, maybe I'm in my own little world here, and nobody's ever bothered to tell me because it's like, well, we don't want to break his heart. We don't want to crush his world, so we just let him exist. Let him have his silly little podcast and playing his little band
doing his
and
thing. Yeah. And he's like, well, musically, I mean, that's a numbers game.
Yeah.
And I think it's like everyone's a little bit gay, everyone's a little bit on the spectrum. And it's literally because a spectrum is a spectrum. You can be at various levels and various ends of the spectrum. But I think, my closest mates, he's on the spectrum. He has what was previously called Asperger's syndrome.
Yep.
And now it's just autism. He's on the autistic spectrum. He's incredibly intelligent, 150 plus IQ, depending on how fucking shit-faced we got the night before. Sees everything logically. Like, can think and see through an emotional lens, chooses not to because there's no value in it. And so he's fun. He's fun at parties.
What an efficient way of living. Like,
Yes,
just cut out,
it
just
is.
disconnect emotionally from everything.
He's remembered every single thing he's ever read or seen or has been told to him. And I will tell him, because he's a comedian as well. His name is Damien Smith. Big shout out, D-Train, what's up? He'll be listening. He'll compress this into like a hyper-pitched, hyper-sped-up version. And like he's speed reading. He speed listens to podcasts at 4 times their usual speed. I'll tell him a joke premise, like maybe 15 years ago when we started doing comedy. I'll tell him a premise and then I'll say that joke to him like, hey, I was thinking about this. Would this be a funny joke? And he'd go, yeah, you told me that 15 years ago. And I'm like, holy fuck. And he'll recite the bit word for word. And it's really fucking disconcerting. But if the internet ever goes down, I got my boy Google with me for fucking everything. And I was having this discussion with him. He's like, because obviously the vaccines cause autism argument is so, he obviously just like, yeah, well, science says different, so it's a false argument. There's been no actual concrete proof. And the one study that said that there was a link between autism and vaccines has been since debunked and withdrawn by that actual doctor scientist because he got fucking just torched by the entire scientific community. But we had this discussion. It's like both of us kind of wish that maybe vaccines did cause autism, because then you could get the dosage right and you could prepare it. Because like when you have a child, you're raising the child not for the world it's growing up in, it's for the world it's going to be in 25 years. And that's going to be an artificial intelligence landscape. So if you've got a kid that already speaks binary, is already like seeing the world in ones and O's, the artificial intelligence that runs the world, Terminators will likely spare someone who already speaks fluent languages and computer and tech rather than some dumb cunt with cholera. So we're not, vaccines don't cause autism, but we're pro vaccines causing autism. We're on board with it.
I mean, there could be a whole new industry to go down, do a bit of research and development and try and create a vaccine that could potentially cause autism.
Yeah, well, Russia's coming pretty close with this new coronavirus one that they just launched into the public without even trialing it. This is trial. They were already injecting people anyway, so they're just like, we'll just change the serum slightly.
I mean, having a mate that's got autism, do you find that you're more hypersensitive to your own tendencies because you sort of see someone close to you that sort of displays all these, I guess, there'd be stereotypical things that he does, but do you sort of, like, even like you mentioned before, like sort of you'll have these moments where you're high and you start to get paranoid about these types of scenarios, but do you sort of just in everyday life sort of be sort of a little bit more conscious about your habits?
Yeah. I communicate well with him and I'm friends with him purely because I'm kind of teetering on a more of a logical side. My emotional sector, like I don't have really strong, I'm not a strong empath. I sympathize, but empathy. I don't see the world through other people's eyes very easily. I only see it sort of through my lens, and I see it through his lens also quite easily. So I'm more logical. I feel like the emotional intelligence, I guess because I went to an all-boys school in Brisbane and I'm an only child and my mum was very fucking practical. Like she was there emotionally, but my mum and dad are both like, and this is them to a T. They were just like, listen, you're going to go to a school. They're going to teach you about God and Jesus Christ. Your mum and I, we don't believe he exists. We think when you die, that's it. So have a good life and live how you want. But go to school and listen to them. And if you agree with what they're saying and you think you might want to believe in God, you can do that as well. And so I went and I'm like 3 fucking religious studies classes in. And I'm like, it's bullshit. Only because like there's just too many holes in the story. And like all things, it sucks because I again, like how I want autism to be caused by vaccines, I want to fucking believe in Jesus but you're making it so fucking hard with the Bible and the plot holes, man. It sucks. Like, I want to be happy, and I want to fucking believe in an ever, like, there ever after, and all of that. But it's like, this sucks. Is like, I can watch Return of the Jedi, and I can believe that Ewoks would beat the fuck out of fully armored stormtroopers with blasters. I can give into that. That's absolutely, of course, that's what would happen. Now, and then I'm out here reading the Bible, walking on water. Get the fuck out of here. It sucks. I got a blind spot, and I just can't give into it, which kind of sucks. So that's my parents, and they set me up for a world where I think with comedy, doing stand up, you need a heavy logic sector. And you need to be able to bend logic. So you need to have, like, you look at the logic of a situation, and then you see society doing a certain thing, and you realize we're doing it all wrong, and there's no logic behind anything in the reasoning here. And that's what people laugh at, is me pointing out the stupidity of it. And people going, fuck yeah, actually, we've just accepted that's the way to do it, but actually we're just dumb cunts. Why are we doing that the whole time? And that's what people laugh at. So logic is important. But being with him, my value for human life during the pandemic, hanging out with him, like watching him roll his eyes every time you hear, and the death toll in Australia rises by 5. And he's like, yeah, give me the fucking ages of them. How old were they? And then you hear one man in his 70s, one in his 80s, and two in their 90s. And Damien's like, yep. This thing is a fucking scourge. It's like the Spanish flu out there. People are dying in the streets. I'm like, man, this is really funny, but we got to just at least show some sorrow for the loss. And he's like, yeah, nah. I'm never going to own a fucking house because of these cunts. His policy jokingly was like, can we just cut this loose so rent comes down $50 a week? Can we free up some accommodation at the very least?
He's definitely a numbers guy.
Yeah, he's a heavy numbers guy. But not a bad human. Like, got a good heart, like a functioning heart, but just, sees it like the Matrix. It's all in code as opposed to hearts.
Well, I think with a lot of that stuff, and even like in comedy, where from my end, I've got a fair bit of that sort of logical mind, that rationale that sort of can be really irritating for people. But I think that difference where for a comedian you can get on stage and you've got enough of that sort of that observation where you can pick out the everyday social norms and see the absurd in it, where most of us it'll just go over our head. We'll be blind to it.
To be honest, I think people are just too busy to notice it.
Oh, well, that's
like
true,
you're doing, and it's like everyone's working their ass off. We're comedians. We got days free. We're fucking around. Like, we should at least spend a little bit more time. Like, if people knew how little time comedians truly spent on their material and writing, most of it is just shitty fucking it's Twitter. Most of it is just fucking around on Twitter and Facebook with posts that don't matter, putting up event invites to friends who are like, I'm not coming to that. I'm fucking working. I have a job and a family. And so, yeah, I think we got days free, so it makes it a little bit easier to spot the absurdities.
But I think...
sorry, I interrupted.
No. But I think the other thing is that even with your mate and people with, I guess, that lean heavily into sort of a little bit more of the autistic sphere, I think ultimately they're saying things that most people would agree with, but most of us have that social filter where you kind of pick and choose your audience and you fluff it up or you soften it depending on who you're talking to, and you're thinking about those social cues where, like your mate would just go, well, I'm just going to tell you how it is. Like, I'm just, whatever's in my head's going to come out the mouth, and that's it. Like, and
yeah, it's not like people who run their mouth and like, I just say whatever I think and whatever. I'm a crazy person. I don't give a fuck what the world thinks about me. But those people aren't traditionally in, like, they'll say what they think, but they're not thinking great things.
No, that's it.
He says what he thinks, but it's a very well articulated and manicured summation of what he's talking about, which is important. And what sucks is, like, he does comedy. He He is deemed, because his resume is essentially comedy. So when you do stand up, you have this gap in your real world resume,
right?
Where there'll be years where you didn't have a job on paper, and that scares employers because they're like, "What the fuck is this gap? What happened?"
Yeah,
and they think you're like, "Were you dealing drugs? Are you a money launderer? Were you in prison?" And you're like, "No, worse. I was a comic." So he has this gap in his resume, an amazing skill set and intelligence, but he can't. He's just no good at the going to the job interview section, where you have to be. That's where you got to be a personable, social human being. He needs to be literally like Goodwill Hunting level discovered. Solve a puzzle on a board and then someone chooses him. That's because his ego is so like intricate. But that's what he needs, and I think that's the one thing with like super intelligent people is they need to feel chosen, acknowledged by society that they are one of the smartest people, and they are an elite and valued. And that's why I think so many really intelligent people are depressed, because they're like, because I think our society values more personality than it does quality. And there's an anti-intellectualism that's sweeping the whole fucking world, led by an America that voted in Trump. It's been slowly swinging. And yeah, so him being smart, the society doesn't value that as much as it values someone who's good to work with. Yeah, he's fun. He's a good bloke. He's just personable. He's charming. He's good. He's fun around the water cooler. Is he fucking good in his cubicle though, cunt?
No, he fucks off when you actually need him to do any work. It's like, where's he gone? Where's he? Yeah.
God,
he's in the toilet for 20 minutes.
Yeah, he's a funny bloke. He got fired from his last job. He did something at Friday work drinks with a lady. I don't know, but he's still funny. He makes me laugh. It's not enough, man.
Well, I mean, not to focus too much on your mate. I mean, I've definitely got to talk about you. But one last thing
this has been one enormous, just a huge big up for my mate Damien, who needs a job real bad.
I'll put it.
And if anyone is listening, he can do anything.
I'll put a link to his CV and his social media handles, whatever it takes. I'll chuck them in the show notes so people can go and reach out to him. I'll give.
I hope you speak Russian. It's all in Russian because he's like, you got to crack the code first. He's fucking Audis. I'm telling you.
I'm really fascinated with this guy. I need to get him on the podcast. But how does he handle hecklers? Does he just
precisely? He handles them in a way that it's because his personality on stage, it's not one of those personalities where he invites hecklers. It's not like he doesn't engage the audience. He's very much a one-way street in the communication. It's jokes, and you don't fucking say a thing. You laugh or you don't. But anytime people do chirp up and heckle a little bit, he has a way of just shutting them down so he can complete his diatribe, so he can just drop his verbal manifesto once that ball gets rolling. But he's very compelling in terms of like the way he delivers his material. So people do engage for fear of missing something. So whenever he does, I've seen him really like just not even roast someone, but just really just, ugh, you peasant. Why are you bothering me with your chirp? And everyone goes, yeah, shut the fuck up, man. I'm trying to learn. Yeah.
Oh, man. I'm going to have to go down a rabbit hole after this. And is there any of his stuff online?
Not really. He and I wrote a book together called Comedy is Easy.
Oh, right. Okay, cool. I've seen that.
Oh, no, sorry. It's called The Book on Comedy.
The Book on Comedy, yeah.
The Book on Comedy. Did you write the book on comedy? Yes, we actually did. But you have to know stand-up comedy pretty well to understand the book. It's classic him. The classic Damo. It's fucking elitist. It's as elitist as fuck. So... Yeah, he does. Yeah, he has the idea of money to him is nowhere near as important as connecting incredibly with the 1% of the world who cares about comedy this much.
Right. Okay.
Anyway,
Well, I'll steer in a slightly different direction now. I saw online that I think it was just one of your buyers for one of the sort of, I don't know, comedy venues or whatever, and he'd done comedy in a bunch of different places around the world, and I saw Romania.
Oh yeah.
I mean, yeah, why? Everything. Like why, where, who, why, what happened?
Well, I was living in the UK, and there's like a whole circuit over there because this was 2011, 2012, and EasyJet and Ryanair, which are like their Jetsstars, but they're like real basic. Like Jetstar is gold class. You walk on it, you feel like you're turning left when you go onto a Jetstar flight compared to Ryanair, but they cost fucking nothing.
Yeah.
They're like £30 to fly to Bucharest or whatever. So you'd end up doing gigs like a bar would, because everyone speaks English, or anyone who goes to bars and stuff or goes to a comedy night in some of these little kind of really smaller Eastern Europe, Eastern Bloc countries, they speak English really well. And if they don't speak English, they're not going to go to a fucking English-speaking comedy night. But there's all these comics and comedy kind of booking, comedy bookers who'll just pay, I'll sell a package to a bar in like Romania for £800, and we'll get like £150 each for three of us, plus flights and accommodation. And we go, and those gigs are fucking amazing. I've seen like the majority of my passport when I was in the UK was filled up by these gigs that were phenomenal. Like the Serbian Comedy Festival. I mean, even that is a phrase. It's a crazy thing. And like we were in Belgrade, and we're driving from the airport to the gig, and I drove past this, and this is fucking not a word of a lie, we drove past this town square, and I looked at it and I recognized it, and I went, where have I seen that before? And then it took me 2 minutes before I realized I'd played that level on Call of Duty 1,000 times.
It's just a blown out wall or something from a building.
Yeah, I played like it was rubble, basically. It was, and there was there's a sniper up in the bell tower, and I'm getting PTSD as we drive to this gig from that time that like this some Vietnamese kid online was fucking killing me all afternoon. But like going to these places I never thought I'd go to, and I'm doing comedy there. I can't fucking tell you how beautiful the women are in Romania and how fucking butt ugly the dudes are. I don't know what the hell happens in the genome out there, the gene pool, but it is like tilted heavily towards women. I was crazy, man. And because I don't look Romanian at all. And if you look different, like everyone fucking stares at you in Serbia and Romania and Eastern Bloc. They stare, and it's the most piercing stare. They're cold, really like it's like I assume how a great white would stare at you. It's like I know what Mick Fanning went through. It is traumatizing.
I've been to Romania and Serbia years and years ago for gigs. And I just remember going through. Well, I remember going through Belgrade, and we're in a taxi, and the taxi driver just points at one of the buildings, and there's just this gigantic hole in it, and he's like, "Oh yeah, that was NATO a few years earlier," and I was like, "Oh really? Oh, wow!"
Cool.
Like, and
strange that there'd be a metal scene in a country like this.
Metal is huge in Eastern Europe. Like live and die by it. It's like they take the lyrics seriously. The rest of the Western world are kind of like, oh yeah, it's a bit of fun, it's
a little
cheese.
Aggressive. Yeah. And then you've got people who are snipers since they were 12 going, finally I've got a music that captures my soul.
That and anyone in North America as well. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, North America is big enough to have quirky kind of, this is the one thing I've always thought, because I've been to a couple of my mates were singers from school. They were in metal bands, like death metal.
Yeah, cool.
Back, like heavily like Sepultura influenced. Dude, great dudes, really sweet dudes. And then we'd get on stage and it's the aggression, it's the fucker, it's the noise, the wall of noise. And it's always made me kind of laugh. Not really. It's like when people hear death metal and they assume that the people who sing it and the fans of it are really violent people.
Yeah.
Nothing is further from the fucking truth.
Yeah, no way.
Like going to that and hanging out. I've never felt more comfortable than in the audience of a fucking death metal show, because they're all like me. We're all just fucking kind of semi-nerdy neckbeards. You know, half of us still live with our mum, you know, but we fuck, just the music does something to us. It awakens an emotion that we don't really kind of have. And then you flip that, like if you want to know true violence, like there's nothing more heinous and more fucking vindictive than an Andre Rieu concert. That's where true cunts go.
I was talking to, I'm sure I said this on the podcast before, but one of the most violent concerts that I've ever been to, or roughest concerts I've been to, was Jimmy Barnes. And it was, and that was only a few years ago as well. It wasn't like,
really?
Decades ago or anything like that. It was at the Enmore Theatre. Everyone was seated. And I'm there with my wife, and we're pretty close to the front. We thought, this is going to be the vibe for tonight. It's chilled. Everyone's sitting down. Support act comes on. It's subdued. Everyone's just, they're happy. Jimmy comes on stage. First note hits. Everyone stands up and just plows to the front. And the guys have taken their shirts off. They've got cans of wild turkey. The women
strapped to them.
Yeah. The women are just grabbing at each other to try and get to Jimmy to try and throw an arm up or get their tits out or something like that. And we're just sitting there going, and we're the youngest people there for sure. Jesus. And we're just going, I don't think we're meant to be here. I think this is their.
What happened to the seats? Were people just like?
They were standing over the seats.
Like Crocodile Dundee, just like walking on people's shoulders?
They're just standing on the seats getting over. But it was sort of one of those things where they're the true weekend warriors. They're the ones that...
Oh, yeah, man, there's anger there.
Yeah, and they're loading up. They're getting ready. They don't get to go out as often as they used to. So when they go out, I mean, they're making the most. They're going to start drinking at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and they're going to get the peel off little wine cups and disposable wines and whatever, and get a bit loose. So but metal shows. I mean, they're the most. I mean, metalheads would hate to admit it, but they are the most adorable bunch. And they're super lovely, and if you're on the same wavelength and you like the same music, then you're bonded for life. And there's nothing funnier than seeing like a black metal band or a death metal band on stage, and as you said before, like they're really getting into it, and then they stop the song, and in between songs they go, cheers guys, and you're like, oh, there goes the ambience.
Like a squeaky kind of, like they're saving their voice for the next yelling match, but just it's like the guy, we used to have this guy at school in grade 12. He represented each sport would have the captain of that sport who would announce the win or what was happening at school assembly. And the guy who did cricket was this enormous, like he's 6'3", like a really good cricketer, great bowler, and he's an all-rounder. And he'd just get up there, and we would all fucking laugh at him because he'd pull out his little notepad, and he just, to the whole assembly of like 1,200 kids, would just go, cricket. And he literally sounded like a fucking cricket. It was the best. And everyone would laugh, and he fucking hated it.
The voice doesn't match the physique at all.
Not at all.
Cricket. Love cricket.
Yeah. Thanks for coming out. Yeah. Just rah, 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 rah. Thanks for coming out, fellas.
Cheers.
Yeah.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers, guys. Be nice to, just be nice to your security guards. Don't cause any kerfuffle on the way out.
Go and buy a CD before you leave if you can support the scene.
Yeah, buy a CD. Sick.
Anyway, sorry, going back to Romania, what were the fans like comedy fans there? I mean, as you said, like a lot of English speakers are going out. Expats, yeah. Yeah,
it was expats, people from England, America, basically, yeah. So language wasn't an issue. And you just, I don't know, you just got to play broad, because I had, at that point, I'd just been doing comedy in Australia for like 7 years or whatever, and I had a lot of Australian-based material, and then I got over there, and I just had to write really broad, universal material as fast as I could, that was accessible to everyone, no matter where you were from, and so I lost like all my favourite fucking Australian material. all my favorite absolute bangers that I had here that were reliable. They just didn't translate over there. It's just stuff about the baby bonus and like just doing like just the Bogan voice just had no resonance over there at all. And I do accents and stuff like that. So and then, yeah. Anyway, that was a baptism of fire trying to do comedy over there because they were like English audiences are fucking brutal. Just cunts, you know? It's real like Colosseum kind of, we are happy if you're funny, but if you're not really funny, we will bury you with fucking silence. It's really like you walk out and their thumb is on the side waiting to go down to have you killed or up, you're the king. And it was brutal, but it definitely helps. But in Romania, they were sweet. I actually, like, I'm still friends with the girl. I hooked up with a girl after the show. She was probably, it still is one of the most beautiful girls I've ever seen. She's half Romanian, half American. And we had the best fucking night. I remember it so clearly because the show was good. And then like people assume you pick up after shows as comedians, like you're always constantly but it doesn't really happen that much. It happened tonight.
It's like metal musicians.
Yeah, the groupies, you just cry. Bro, we're just in the green room just crushing puss the whole time. No, not really. In fact, we're backstage writing blogs about how the use of the word puss or pussy is quite offensive to women, actually. Yeah.
Trying to get that blue tick on Twitter.
Get that blue tick, baby. Yeah, the blue tick of death. I think the blue tick, all Twitter needs from me to get the blue tick is no spelling mistakes or grammatical errors, because I'm not doing anything good quality out there. But yeah, I have really fond memories of Romania, or anywhere that when I was living in the UK, it was anywhere that wasn't the UK was fucking glorious. I really relished.
With the UK, I mean, it seems to be a pretty common place that a lot of comedians will go to try and try their luck and see if they get any opportunities. Do you think that? I mean, I've never asked the question before. It might be a pretty common thing, but do Aussies cop a lot of shit because Aussies are fairly prevalent in the UK, just in general, anyway?
Yeah.
Is it a bit harder?
Any shit we cop, we absolutely fucking deserve. I definitely won't say, "Hey, why are you being so mean?" And it's like, well, because you live in a fucking paradise, cunt. That's why. And you've avoided the global financial crisis as a country. We fucking hate you. And also, like Australians overseas, especially in England, we're the worst. We're such, absolute fucking, I call it tourism. We commit acts of tourism regularly to the point where I'm surprised there hasn't been like a unanimous, like I'm surprised our buildings don't have holes in the side of them from NATO. So like any kind of flacky cop was well deserved. But it wasn't opportunities over there. The comedy circuit over there is really well paid.
Right, okay.
So you'll get like, I was getting paid for like a 20 or 25 minute set. You get paid up to 200 or 250 pounds, which is like, pushing like good. At those days too, that was like 500 Australian. So you'd only have to do 2 or 3 gigs a week and you're making bank. Like you're really doing well. And the cost of living over there, you would probably, if you've been to the UK, it's like you go down like Boots Pharmacy or whatever, you buy a meal combo and it's like £4 and you get a sandwich, a pack of crisps, right? And a can of Iron Brew because you're fucking hungover to death. But it's like £4. That's nothing. It's like so cheap. And also so are the drugs.
Live like a king.
Yeah, snort like one too. It was a good time. It was a hazy time, but still, I enjoyed it. I wouldn't go back to live there though. Especially not now.
Well, no. Yeah. But was it just not sustainable?
It's sustainable. I just missed home. I just wanted to come home, and I just wanted to, I don't know, fucking talk about being a Queenslander and have people know what I was talking about, mate.
And get paid less for it as well.
Yeah, it's worth it though.
It balances out.
Yeah.
Oh man. You put out an album in March, I think, of this year.
Yeah. Yep.
I mean, given all the shit that's been happening this year, I assumed that it wasn't just hey, we're in COVID, I'm just going to release an album at the last minute. This is obviously something you've been planning for a bit, and probably had a bit of a promotional thing after it to go and get out there and do some stuff? I mean, how did that all work with?
I'm gonna go tour the album. No,
Yeah.
that's not really how comedy works. I'd love it if it was that cool. I'm out there just gonna tour the CD. I had it in the pocket. I was planning to release it when I did release it, but I was also I just didn't realize. Obviously, no one realized COVID was going to be a thing. But I think it got more downloads and more listens because everyone was at home looking for content. So I think it got more heat, and it didn't get much heat. But it definitely got some listens on Spotify. I mean, I'm very happy with the album. But I've also managed, since I released it, I've got a lot more material, so I can do a set now with no one hearing the same material they heard from the album, which I'm pretty happy about.
So everything that's on the album, was that a few, like, was it a year or a couple of years of material that you've built up?
Yeah, varying levels, like roughly 3 years.
Yeah.
3 years of material on there.
And so you can sort of just let go of it. Once it's out, it's like, okay, it's recorded, it's down.
Yeah, it's down.
Cut the ties.
Yeah, but also if I'm at a gig and I know fucking no one's listened to it, which is often, I will bust out the fucking classics. Listen to me, the classics. Just tab into the back catalogue. If you here's one of my earlier ones. Everyone's like, "Who the fuck are you? What are you talking about?"
Just hold them out for the encore. Hey guys, hang 10. I know you guys want to hear the bangers.
Encore.
I've left them to the end.
Yeah, just got that. Just gonna do some new shit. Boo.
Yeah, come on.
Wonderwall can't do Wonderwall.
I want horses. Come on, give me horses.
I've got a bit about horses. It's fucking that is a classic. It's an old school one.
I remember seeing Braithwaite at like it must have been like Heathcote Tavern or something like that in Sydney, and it was like a Sunday Arvo session, and it was just rough as guts, like a big crowd as well, like just there. It must have just been there for a drink and going, oh, Daryl's next door. Oh, we'll go in there and pay $40 or whatever. And he's trying to play some deep cuts. He's trying to play some new stuff. Here's something I've been working on, and it's just a snooze fest. Everyone's like, oh,
everyone's just play horses.
And then
horses.
But then he sort of played it up. He's like, don't worry, guys, I'm going to get to it. Just hang in there. I'm going to get to it. He lent into it.
Heart.
And then right at the end, he goes, all right, guys, shut the fuck up. We're going to play it now. Yeah. And then everyone's like, ah, horses, awesome. But, I mean, what an existence.
Yeah, I know. Like to feel, because he's got some other absolute 80s, late 80s, early 90s classics. Like One Summer is so fucking good. And he's got a back catalogue, but if you've seen an interview with Daryl, and every time an interviewer is surprised and mentions that Horses is actually a cover, it's actually not his original, and you see him die inside each time. He's just like, "Hello, darkness, my old friend," and he's like, "Yeah, no, but I made it my own."
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
you have. That's true.
It was an unknown song before I got my lips around it.
I put it on the map. Yeah.
How with the album you put out this year is it different to? I mean, this is the first one that you've done. Because I haven't seen any.
I've got a DVD that I put out back when DVDs existed.
Yeah, they're gone now.
That was 2007, I think. I put one out like 2014. Yeah. And then this is an audio only. What's the
process for a comedian to put out an album now on Spotify? Like, is it?
I don't even I don't know. One, it's pointless. Because it's. Well, not pointless. It's good to have like fodder out there, because I don't think people listen to Spotify and just type in comedy and then just have like a playlist of random comedy. It's just music. Spotify is very popular with music, and you probably know how little a cut the artist gets from a play on Spotify.
Yeah, it's not much.
It's comical. It's the joke in itself. But the album I put out was it wasn't like you do festival shows, which are an hour-long show, and it has a theme and it has like a narrative arc, and it might not be like a lot of punchlines in some parts where you're trying to drum home like a story or like a theme. But this was recorded over 4 nights at the Comedy Store in Sydney, and it was like a Thursday, Friday, and 2 shows on the Saturday, and it was a fucking wall-to-wall, like 270 people a night. Hot crowd every single fucking time. and I only had 15-minute sets. So I had 4 15-minute sets. I recorded all of them and then edited them down to the best 45. So in terms of like the album, I'm so fucking happy with it because it was just bangers. It was just really strong punchlines that all of my bits that I really like, and that I'm glad it's the one I put out. I've had other comics who all like agree. They're like, yeah, man, it's a really good album. And it's just there's no fat on it. It's all meat. It's all just punchlines, setups, punchlines. Because I think, I guess I was targeting it at like a younger generation whose attention span is dwindling quickly. Like you can see it in gigs now. If the crowd for like the age is average 25 or under, I immediately know like no long stories, no references they aren't going to get. Do not say on fleek. Don't say if you say groovy, you might as well have just taken a shit on stage. They are going to switch off, start playing fucking Candy Crush in front of you. So yeah, like that's where comedy's sort of audience's attention span is heading. So you got to keep it punchy as possible, otherwise they lose focus.
And I think it's also that track thing as well, like the fact that you can. I mean, I guess you could just release one track, which is the entire set, but to have it as individual tracks where you've got to give them titles. I mean, you've got to have individual themes or little punchlines for each single one, just to keep them contained within track 5 or whatever it might be. Yeah,
I can't just like be like Tool and just drop an album that's with one title. It's like a 45-minute song. I wish I could do that. I wish I had the fan base that was that committed and will listen to the whole thing. But yeah, like each individual theme. But it's also like mainly, if you listen to it, it's dick jokes. A lot of it's it's fuck humor because.
And you got your Bogan accent going
laugh
as well.
Yeah, real hard.
Yeah,
real hard.
Lean into it.
Yeah, good to be home.
Yeah, I was wondering because I was talking to who was it? Cam Knight about sort of his gripes with Insta stories and just Instagram, and he fucking hates it, and he's just like cracking the shits about how people don't even have audio on it anymore, so you got to put the subtitles on because people are on the shitter.
Dude, subtitles. I'm releasing a couple of clips, and I realized I've got to put subtitles on them because people are going to be watching and they don't want to listen.
Yeah, that's it. So I'm just thinking, like, how does it change? Where you obviously want to have. I mean, it's not the right word. It's definitely not the right word, but it's like a portfolio of work. So
a body of work, I guess.
Yeah, so they've got an understanding or a reference point of what you're all about, but it's just so hard to put something out now or to find the right spot for it, and then for it to also look like it's getting some attention as well, not just like I've chucked a couple of clips up on YouTube or whatever, and tumbleweeds because it's stuck in the noise of all the other garbage.
So much. Yeah, totally. There's no right way to do it. And if you sorry. I've had too much kombucha. It's killing me. It's putting me to bed. It's supposed to make me feel good, alive, change my gut biome. Anyway, fuck, what were we talking about? I'm still high.
With there's no right way of releasing anything.
Of releasing it, sorry,
yeah.
And the clips that go viral comedically, like they could be a sketch or they could be a clip of your stand-up, but if they go viral, they've got to be honestly really base. That's the shit that gets shared a lot. It's super. I find I feel sorry for some of the acts, like some comics whose clips go viral. I'm happy for them. They've gone viral and everyone knows about them. But sometimes it's the shit that goes viral is nowhere near a representation of what they're capable of. And now if like 1 million people see that clip, they're expecting to see something like that when they come to a show. So if you have this clip of you doing a fucking thumb voice or whatever, and everyone loves it, and then they get to your show and you're actually quite intelligent, and then you'll lose people who are like, you're not like what I saw on the YouTube. You're smart in that. I don't like smart, eh? I just want to listen. I've had like 8 Woodsocks in the parking lot, and I just want to do that accent, man. Do the fucking funny, do the Asian accent, man. And like, the comic is Asian, and like they're doing their accent. It happens to be Australian. It happens sometimes. And yeah, so I feel sorry for them, but also a little bit. I feel sorry for you guys. Must be a shame out there to pack out those stadiums and big theaters off the back of that. I feel so sorry for you.
There's one
so
hit
arrogant
wonders.
of me. Yeah, yeah. The Daryl Braithwaite horses of comedy.
Yeah, it must suck to get those big crowds and get all that money from the ticket sales, and
Yeah.
they only love you for the one song.
Yeah,
How do you sleep at night?
but that's so yeah, on a bed made of money and groupies. But like I think that's what if you wanted to target a thing that's going to go viral, like a thing that's going to put you on the map and get shared, like a TikTok. Oh fuck, brutal. If you wanted to, you'd have to play broad, really broad, and it might not be a representation of who you are as an artist, and there's the risk. And that's the rub. Like, you'll get popular, but also people will come see your show and expect something different. And there's nothing worse, I reckon. Having like, that would feel shitty.
Just watching their faces change as you start going to your set, and you're like,
Brutal.
you can see they're going,
Yep.
I've really made the wrong choice here. What's it like? I mean, because you've been doing comedy for quite a few years now.
Yeah.
I mean, with everything changing so much, this year's a fucking write-off anyway, for the most part.
Isn't it?
But do you sort of look at it, do you have to adjust? Are you sort of evolving as not so much, your material will always change and sort of commentating everything that you're doing at the moment, but, or the world around you, but I guess sort of where your place is as a comedian, the shit you put out. Do you sort of go, okay, I need to sort of pivot or adjust or change, or do you just kind of go?
Definitely.
Yeah?
Constantly. I got real scared when COVID started, like any artist, I bet. I'm sure we're all in the same boat going, oh, fuck. Because, the arts is usually the first when times are tough. When, like, a recession hits, the arts is it's a privileged expense. Like, people, it's the first thing to go on the weekly budget for a family who's tightening up the belt. And so I was like, oh, fuck. And then when I saw like a bunch of comedy clubs, everything was kind of shutting down. Everyone was in the same boat. But I realized like a lot of people weren't going out. So people are actually saving money because it's a lot of money. Like I'm sure people have lost income, obviously. Then I started doing Zoom shows with Damien. He and I would do a weekly show every Thursday night to our fans. We put it out and we get like between 10 and 40 people watching each Thursday, and they donate money. It wasn't paid entry, but we kept the muscle going. Like we kept writing each week, and those Zoom shows were honestly so much fucking fun. And I realized doing those shows that people are still going to have a taste for live content, human content, the idea of a live show, even if it's on a Zoom show, it still feels as close as you can get. It's the methadone to heroin. Like you can still get a good buzz from it and feel like you're part of something. And then the gigs started opening up. And I noticed as soon as I started doing live shows, there was a real thirst of people who are happy to be out of the house. And you're talking about like really fresh topical stuff about COVID and stuff like that and the situation we're all in. There's a real like we're all in this together in those comedy clubs. And that was such a relief because I was like, I've got that gap in my resume, man. I've got a 12-year gap where I haven't done a fucking thing except comedy and sort of comedy related shit. And so I was like, oh no, man, I was like, I got to be an Uber driver, which nothing against any Uber drivers. I mean, it's a great profession. It's honest. You're your own boss. All of that shit that Uber tells you. But I was like, what am I going to do with my life? And I was hospitality for 10 years, like bars and stuff like that. And I was like, I'm just going to have to get a job in a bar or whatever. And then bars aren't even open. It was a pretty scary time, but honestly, and JobKeeper is dope. It's dope. Like it was such a relief, and I've been doing the right thing with JobKeeper. So that $1,500 a fortnight coming in, I was lucky to be eligible for it. I've been pumping that right back into the community. Like I'm not sitting on it. I'm spending, hoping, just kind of doing what it's supposed to be doing, is keep the economy alive and functioning. But like once that ends and finishes, like who knows what's going to come, but it might get worse. But it got pretty bad for a lot of people.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people, for the most part, realize that, yeah, you can actually get through these things. And especially if everyone's going through it and we're all on the same page, roughly, you know, there's going to be cunts who attack politicians who are pretty keen to, you know, lower a death toll. What a bunch of pricks trying to just preempt blood. They don't really want blood on their hands, not like good politicians back in the day who'd send you into a war in a desert to die on a lie. But yeah, I feel like for the most part, even though this is maybe an indicator, it might get worse. But I think for me and I think a lot of people out there, hopefully people realize that, yeah, you know, you can do without if you have to. And we had a good run. And when it comes back online, the world comes back online and really officially opens up, there'll be more of an appreciation for it.
I think so. Same with music, same deal. I mean, haven't been able to play shows, haven't been able to do anything. And at least, well, probably, up in Queensland and New South Wales, we've been lucky for the most part where, you know, gigs are opening back up, but it's weird. I mean, it's okay for comedy because, you know, I guess to an extent,
you can sit down and distance.
Sitting down at a live show, what a buzzkill. What a buzzkill.
Absolutely, for everyone.
So, but yeah.
What are they gonna? You can put you in little fucking go-go dancer bird cages, like one per person, so you can still fucking rock out. But at the same time, you're up against it. I guess you got to take the time to. Are you writing?
Well, it's everything. Everybody's different. I mean, for us, we were lucky because we weren't going to start playing again until around now, and we didn't sort of 100% commit to that because of a bunch of other things. And by the time we were getting ready to start booking things, everything started to happen globally. So we thought, we'll just leave it. We'll push it to 2021. Yeah. And well, who knows what next year looks like. So we'll play it by ear. But I know a lot of mates that are having to find other things. Obviously, JobKeeper's just kept people going and
along,
right where they can. But I mean, at the same time, it's hard to. I think a lot of people are struggling to be creative when they're just locked up indoors as well. So it's like, how much stimulus do you have? You know,
it's real hard. Yeah. If you don't have an avenue or a place an outlet that you can visualize, it's hard to create.
Yeah.
But back to the thing, like I wasn't being. I hope I didn't come across as being lazy or anything like that when I was like, JobKeeper's sick. I just want to sit on my ass and do comedy. The thing is, like, I've committed to this. I'm all in. I have no plan B. I watched an Arnold Schwarzenegger clip and he said, don't have a plan B because you won't commit to plan A. I listened to nothing else because I'm still fat, but that bit really resonated. So I have no plan B, and I don't want to go back into the job market and take a job from someone who might need that job to take care of a family or, you know, have dependents or have a mortgage or have other expenses. I'm pretty loose. Like I don't own much. I've always been on the road. I don't own much. I don't really ask for much. I don't need much. I'm not greedy with money. So like, if it comes to me, it comes. I spend it pretty quick. I just assume, honestly, man, I just assumed the world was going to be rubble by now. So I've never bothered to save or have a mortgage. And each year, you know, another year goes by and we're still here. It's getting a little tense out there, but you know.
Well, I don't know, man. I think, I mean, it's a very wanky thing to say, but I think entertainment, you know, comedy, musicians, creative arts, it's essential services in their own right. I think, you know, you need that sort of stuff, and I think there's nothing wrong with making that your plan A and not having any plan B or C or D. I think if you start to lean into those other plans, as the great Arnie said, then you lose a bit of fire from plan A, and you're not doing it 100% anymore. So I think people need. And as you said before, like with venues opening back up now, you know, there's a thirst for it. I mean, I see it, and I mean, you know, I liked going out. I like to go into gigs or go and see some comedy every once in a while. or just go to the pub. But, I found myself as I was getting older starting to be, I can't be fucked going out. It's Friday night. I'll just sit on the couch. Now, I'll be out every I'm ready to go.
Yep.
And I reckon there'll be heaps of people like that, and they'll be starved for it. And maybe it'll only last a couple of months, but I tell you what, everyone get ready and get those tickets ready and
I don't
just milk it.
I don't think it's going to last just a couple of months. I think because of, like, if you see the expense, like retail sector, the physical, like material items, people aren't buying that shit.
No.
Much, because it's like, well, I mean, why buy things and material things? I guess it's to show them off. Like if you think about clothing and cars and all of that, it's to flex, I guess, if you want to look at capitalism at its base level. But people more and more are realizing that experiences are really fucking important, just for your life, just for your joy, just for everything. And like the arts, the fact that arts really gets kind of relegated, it's the idea. It's like, man, it's an industry in itself, and it's fucking renewable. And it costs nothing. It doesn't take it. You're not digging shit out of the ground to sell it to someone and have them fucking thanks and throw it out or regift it. This is a thing that kind of, it's always surprised me that like it's not good for the economy. We need to sell coal. We need to sell hard things. We need to sell energy. We need to sell physical shit just to get the economy functioning. It's like, well, wouldn't you, man? You want to look for a renewable source of joy and energy. It's the arts is right there, man. And the better the arts is, the more people go out and see it.
That's it. It's an injection of money into the economy straight away. It
straight away.
It's like stuff you see overseas in the UK or North America with comedy, where places become landmarks. So it creates tourism, and then you got all the unmeasurable things where just the mental health stuff, or just sense of purpose in the community, where other things start to decrease, whether it be domestic violence or just any violence or any crime and things like that, because people have got an outlet where they can go and just let loose and have a laugh or thrash out and act like a bit of a death metal fan for 20 minutes or whatever it might be.
Yeah. Act like become a full-on fucking primal beast.
That's it.
And then kind of retreat back to just checking your Bitcoin and
check out Bitcoin and my Coinbase app.
Yeah.
Do you accept Bitcoin at the merch table? I want to get one of those CDs.
Yeah. That's so good. What the spectrum of technology involved in that sentence? Bitcoin and a CD. Great.
And that's a wrap. If you want to reach out to Jacques, you can do so by going to jbcomedy.net. He's also on Instagram and Facebook. Just search for JB Championi. And speaking of which, his comedy album that came out in March of this year called Championi, or Championi, whichever your flavor is available on Spotify and iTunes. And of course, everything will be in the show notes over at andysocial.net, andydowling.net, and whatever the hell you're listening to this through right now. Just go to the description of your podcast episode, mash your fingers against the screen. There'll be a bunch of clickable links there, and you can go and say hi to Jacques. Now, before we wrap it up, patreon.com/Andy Dowling. Come over and support me and my little old podcast. This podcast has been up and running for the past 5 years. I've signed up to Patreon the past few months, and we are going really, really well. I'm just loving the fact that I'm getting some financial backing from some investors, some people supporting the podcast. It's really, really cool, especially the people that are in, if I can even speak fucking English, are in my social circle tier, my $10 tier. Thank you so much to these guys. They are significantly contributing to the costs that I incur running this podcast each and every week and month and year, etc. So thank you so much in particular to Andrew from Perth, Mick G from Sydney, Ash from Deniliquin, Dan from Dapto. We've also got Rod from Rayleigh in North Carolina, Patrick from Canberra, Liam from Brisbane, Chris from Sydney, Brendo from Leeton, Tim from Canberra, James from Brisbane as well. Thank you so much, guys. And to everybody else that supports on all the other tiers, it means a hell of a lot. And supports us from only $1 a month. It's dirt cheap. It's just like it's $1 that comes out of your account every month. You won't even notice it. And any tier above $1 will get you access to the exclusive Patreon podcast episode that comes out every Tuesday morning at 6 a.m. Sydney time, straight into your inboxes, and you'll be able to enjoy that as well. But that's it, folks. Another podcast done. Thank you so much for supporting. If Patreon's not your thing, please subscribe to the podcast on whatever podcast player you're listening to. Follow it. You can also leave reviews wherever possible. Apple, iTunes, fucking whatever the fuck it's called these days. Apple Podcasts, Stitcher. You can still leave reviews on Facebook, so go and leave a review on my Facebook page. That'd be fantastic. Wherever you can support, a bit of social media love, a bit of sharing of the episodes amongst your mates and your peers, your friends, your family, whoever else. All that stuff is a massive help. And just the fact that you're listening to me right now, as always, is just, well, it's pretty crazy. So thank you so much. Until next week, I've got next week I have somebody very different. Not music, not comedy, but yeah. It's about time I go off on a little bit of a tangent. We get somebody a little bit different on the podcast. So stay tuned for that. Until next week, folks, take care and ta-ta.